Okay, so the latest Man City transfer news this morning, it includes a buy, a sell, and an extend. Bizarre rumour going round, or not even a rumour, an ESPN pundit suggesting that Man City needs to sell John Stones. So we'll have a little chat about that. We're going to also have a good look at Nathan Ake, the Bournemouth central defender, who is heavily linked to Man City. And with it being announced by De Ligt's agent this morning that Real has agreed personal terms with Juventus, it almost looks like that one's dead and buried. So we'll have a look at Nathan Ake. Now I'll have a good look, like I do, in where he's been, who he's played for, what's his strengths and weaknesses. But I'll also, quite interestingly, I'll have a look at stats analysis between him and Harry Maguire for last year in the Premier League. So that's quite interesting to look to see how he compares up with Harry Maguire on a stats basis in the Premier League. And then there's also news out about Fernandinho being potentially offered an extension on his contract. So we'll start with Fernandinho first. I mean, if Man City extend his contract by another year, I think that's an excellent move. I think I did a video a couple of days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, which you can have a look at, where I talked about Pep Guardiola liking Fernandinho maybe dropping into the centre half position, or certainly offering him some versatility and cover there. And I think if with the Rodri signing, that takes the pressure off him as a holding midfielder, and Fernandinho can now look to possibly extend his career by not having to play as many games. Now I know he does pick up injuries, and he's at that age where he's likely to pick up injuries. But if you can take the pressure off him in number of games played and use him wisely, it's potentially a really good move by Pep Guardiola to try and extend his contract maybe by another year. And with David Silva leaving probably next summer, just keeps that stability in the club. You don't want too many coming in at once, and you don't want too many leaving at once. So if that is pushed through an extension of his contract, I think it's a really good move. Now John Stones, really bizarre headline I read, and it's Shaka Hislop, the ex-West Ham goalkeeper. They always say you've got to be mad to be a goalkeeper. I remember when I was playing football as a kid at school, and they always said when you were looking at what position you wanted to play, and you had to be mad to be a goalkeeper. Well, he's an ESPN pundit now, and he's suggesting that that John Stones ought to be sold, more or less suggesting at any cost, basically. Get what you can from him. It hasn't worked out for him. Get what you can from him and get him out of there. Now, where he gets that from and what's his logic behind it, I have no idea. I mean, Man City want to boost their centre defence numbers, not lose them. John Stones, some could argue he hasn't had his best season last year. I think a few personal problems off the pitch may not have helped, but he is without doubt one of the top English central defenders in our country. So why would you want to sell him? He's a young age, still plenty of potential there, still plenty of development. No idea where Shaka Hislop is getting that one from, but we'll wait and see the reaction to that bizarre one. Now, Nathan Ake, we'll have a good look at him. Central defender at Bournemouth. He's aged 24. He's Dutch born, he's a Dutch international. But with the pressure on for Man City to have homegrown talent, he does actually qualify as homegrown talent because he spent 3 years at Chelsea before the age of 21. So although he's a Dutch nationality, Dutch international, he does class as a homegrown player. Now, currently Man City are one over their 18 allowance by the Premier League for the homegrown talent. So there is not a pressure, but there is an eye on trying to sign players that do fit within the homegrown criteria. Now, we'll have a good look at him, and then, like I say, I promise you we'd have a look at his stats against Harry Maguire. So this lad started out as a kid in Feyenoord in the Netherlands, and at age 16 in, I think it was 2011, he joined the youth ranks at Chelsea. So age 16, joined the youth ranks in 2011. 2012, he he made his Europa League debut for the senior team as a holding midfielder. Now he's age 17 at that point, and he was actually a sub age 17 for Chelsea in the Europa League final. So he was also voted Chelsea Young Player of the Year. So he showed a very promising start at Chelsea as a very young lad, 16, 17-year-old. And, there was talk of him, really coming through the Chelsea ranks and probably staying at Chelsea as their main central defender for many years. But you've got to remember, you had John Terry holding the pivotal, number one central defender position for many, many years at Chelsea. You also had Gary Cahill and a number of other centre halves over that period from 2012 up to sort of 2016, 2017. So Nathan Ake found it difficult to really break into that team. He was very well thought of at Chelsea. I mean, they talk about him being very professional, being a hard worker, did everything they asked of him, but there just wasn't really that opening for him. Now in 2015, he took a short loan spell with Reading. And then in the 15-16 season, Watford took him on a season long loan. Now, if you remember in that season, 15-16, Watford had just newly promoted to the Premier Division. Took him on. Now, they actually played him as a left back. It's quite interesting. So his natural position is seen to be a centre half, but he played in the Premier League for Watford as a left back. Now, interestingly enough, if you ask the player is quoted as saying that his preferred position is a holding midfielder, and he has played that holding midfield position for Chelsea, like I say, as a 17-year-old. So this is quite a versatile young footballer. In June 17, he signed permanently for Bournemouth. And I think the transfer fee was about 20 million, and he's been playing as a centre half. Now, internationally, he's played under 15, under 16, under 17, under 19, under 21, and I think he's had 10 caps, senior caps for the Netherlands. So, this is a lad that internationally has been on the scene right from a young age, come right through the ranks, very well thought of in the Dutch international scene. Chelsea obviously thought very highly of him. He's very versatile, like I say, with those three different positions, but primarily he is a centre half, but he feels his best position is a holding midfielder. When you look at him, I think he's an excellent buy. Now, he's very strong. There's a couple of areas that I think, when we look at his stats, that I think perhaps need improving on. But one of his weaknesses is that position. As a player, if you're seen to be too versatile and you can play left back, you can play centre half, holding midfielder, it can actually work against you. And as a young player, sometimes it's good to actually nail down a position and say, this is where I'm going to lay my hat, and this is where I'm going to fight for my place, and once I get it, I'm not going to give it up. So I think that's a weakness he's had, is that he didn't quite get the opening at Chelsea, and has been moved about in position a little bit when he's gone out on loan. So anyway, let's have a look at his stats, because interestingly, we want to see how he compares against Harry Maguire, because Harry Maguire is probably seen as the number one target. Obviously De Ligt's off the scene, and it's looking at other opportunities, because Maguire's price tag is seen as too much. So we'll have a look. So the Premier League last season, Nathan Ake played 38 matches, Harry Maguire played 31. We'll just cover goals, obviously centre half, but Harry Maguire is always seen as a plus, that he can chip in with the odd goal in the opposite end of the area. Well, Nathan Ake has as well. He has put in 4 goals last season as opposed to Harry Maguire's 3. Now, clean sheets, Nathan Ake has produced 10 last year, Harry Maguire 6. In terms of blocks, so we'll look at the sort of blocks, interceptions, tackles now. Blocks, 35 for Nathan Ake, Harry Maguire 18. So, he's in the right position a lot. Interceptions, not quite as good as Harry Maguire, 32 for Nathan Ake, 37 for Harry Maguire. In terms of tackles, he's a very busy lad. He's gets himself about a little bit. 66 tackles as opposed to Harry Maguire's 31. Tackles won 35 compared to Harry Maguire 17, so similar percentage there. In terms of clearances, again, very busy. 230 for Nathan Ake as opposed to 152 for Harry Maguire. And then we'll have a look at the aerial ability. And this is seen perhaps as an area that he's perhaps a little bit weaker in. I think he's just under 6 foot. Harry Maguire's the right side of 6 foot. And potentially against a real aerial bombardment, he's perhaps not as good as Harry Maguire. Headed clearances 127 compared to Harry Maguire 77. So all looks good there. He's in the right place at the right time making those headed clearances. But his aerial battles won isn't quite as good as Harry Maguire. Bear in mind he's played more games, 88 aerial battles won as opposed to Harry Maguire, 118 aerial battles won. So you can see there that he's not just as dominant in the air as Harry Maguire. Now, Pep Guardiola is known to switch his central defenders around depending on whether he's playing against a team that is more likely to aerially bombard them. But that is something that perhaps you could pick up on, that he's not as good. In terms of on the floor, his passing, does he pass forwards, backwards? His pass completion, very good. Similar number of passes to Maguire. He's played more games, so he probably isn't on the ball as much as Maguire. Maguire's very much seen as a guy that is comfortable on the ball and plays it out. But Nathan Ake, 1,696 passes. Harry Maguire, 1,747. Pass completion, though, is 86%, which is really good. Not quite as good as people like Virgil van Dijk, but Harry Maguire sits at 85%, just a touch below. So, very good pass completion. He's not a guy that plays the ball backwards all the time. Very similar to Maguire on passes forward, 682 as opposed to 685. Doesn't just touch the ball as much. He has actually had more touches of the ball than Maguire last year, but obviously 7 more games in the Premier League. So 2,243 touches as opposed to Harry Maguire's 2,137. Maguire, one of the weaknesses I see with him is that sometimes he brings the ball out when he didn't need to, and he could play a simple ball to his midfielders, and he can sometimes get dispossessed. He was dispossessed 7 times in 31 games last year. Nathan Ake looks a safe pair of hands. In 38 games, only 6 times he was dispossessed. And critically, is he going to drop a clanger? And errors leading to goals is 0 for Nathan Ake, only 1 for Harry Maguire. So both very good on that. So a lot of figures there, obviously thrown at you, but to put it in a nutshell, his stats add up very, very well. He's seen, if you watch him, he's very calm on the ball. He's not one to panic. And in today's game, where centre halves on the ball get pressured, he's very calm and he's quite happy to accept the ball. And you can see from his stats, he doesn't make stupid mistakes. He's in the right position, making blocks, interceptions, headed clearances. He's comfortable on the ball. He's happy playing the ball forward. Great pass completion. The one area, like I say, stats-wise, that I think shows that he's not just as strong as Maguire is aerially in the aerial battles won. So no doubt Man City will have looked at all of that. But looking at the lad, he's rumoured to be 40 million, that sort of region. I think Bournemouth are unlikely to let him go for 40 million. I think when they see, obviously, Virgil van Dijk, the 75 million that he went for, the Harry Maguire being pitched at 90 million, De Ligt, we don't know what he's going to go for, but it's going to be somewhere around about 60 million. And they're going to say, look, I think we can get 50, 60 million for this player. Now, do I think he's worth it? I'll be honest, yes, I do. I think he's very well thought of in the Dutch international scene. He's had a good upbringing in the Feyenoord youth system. Come to Chelsea, a little bit unlucky with the players ahead of him in that sort of 2012, 2016 region where he'd be looking to break through in the side. So I think a little bit unlucky there. Interested to know what your thoughts on him. Let me know in the comments below. Appreciate all your support for the channel, and if you like the videos I put out, please do like and subscribe below. Thanks again for watching.